Hey everybody, and Tony here with a review of Verdi's Nabucco, which was shown at the Praha Statni Opera. The conductor was Ratislav Stur, the stage director was Karel Niemec, the set designer was Ulrich Hüstebeck, the costume designer was Josef Jelinek, the chorus master was Adolf Melichar, and the choreographer was Otto Schanda. Now, Nabucco is the opera that basically put Giuseppe Verdi on the map, and it paved the way for the other operas to have a great success, like that of Macbeth, Il Trovatore, Rigoletto, Don Carlo, Aida, Traviata, Forza del Destino, Otello, Vespi Siciliani, and many, many others. And this was the opera that really made him gain a lot of fame throughout Italy. Now, while Oberto and Un Giorno di Regno did enjoy some success, it didn't really get the limelight it totally deserved, and these two operas were basically forgotten and mostly have been performed throughout Europe. But Nabucco has become quite a sensation at the time because this symbolized the Risorgimento, and this was the opera that also put Vittorio Emanuele in a very prestigious position. And also, when it came to the Hebrews chorus, Va Pensiero, this became, well, let's just say Italy's second national anthem. And this has resonated really well with the Italians. And this particular chorus has become very famous, that it's not just a song of patriotism, but a song of liberty, nostalgia, and, well, a lot of other heartfelt emotions and ideals. And this also is the chorus that basically, like I said, put Giuseppe Verdi on the map. Now, in my personal experience with Verdi's Nabucco, it's not just the Va Pensiero that I really love. Hell, when I think about it, the Hebrews chorus really makes me bawl to tears every time I listen to it, and there are times I want to expect an encore because it's so stirring, so powerful, so beautiful that every time I hear the opening chords and then hear the chorus sing the opening lines of this chorus, I start to almost tear up. That is just how stirring this chorus is. Now, other highlights for me when it comes to Nabucco are Abigail's aria, Ben io t'invenni o fatale scritto, which then leads to the cavatina Anch'io dischiuso un giorno, and the cabaletta Salgo già, in which any soprano that dares sings this cabaletta needs a strong high C here and there. Actually, when it comes to the role of Abigail, this is one of the most difficult roles in the dramatic soprano repertory. Now, before the likes of Brunhilde, Sieglinde, Isolde, Ortrud, Venus, Kundry, Adriano, Electra, the Dyer's Wife, Marie from Wozzeck, La Gioconda, Amneris, Aida, Leonora from Trovatore, Leonora di Vargas, and many, many other dramatic soprano roles. Oh, and especially before the likes of Turandot and Santuzza, there was Abigail. Now, when it comes to this role, a lot of critics say that this role is a killer for the soprano voice. And there's a huge reason why. High notes popping in here and there. You have your high A's, your high B flats, your high B's, and you got your high C's, and especially when it comes to the Salgo già, in which the soprano who dares sings this aria needs a great high C. So, yeah, that's basically what I think about the role of Abigail, and it's not just Nabucco that's a very difficult part for the dramatic baritone as well. Now, Ismaila is a very thankless part, as it needs a really great spinto tenor to really sing the lines very lyrically and very floridly, yet still have that spinto bite. and Zaccaria needs a basso cantante, and the minor roles like the high priest of Baal, Abdallah, and Anna need a lyric bass or even a beginner basso profondo, a lyric tenor, and a lyric soprano. Oh, and also Fenena. She needs like a dramatic soprano or even that of a lyric mezzo or a young dramatic mezzo voice to really sing her lines really well. So when it comes right down to it, Nabucco's cast of characters need a demanding cast of singers. And going back to the arias that struck well with me, it's not just Abigail's aria, but also Nabucco's Dio ti giuda, and also Fenena's prayer, O dischiuso il firmamento, and Zacarias Tu sul labbro, and his first act aria. So, yeah, those are basically the pieces of music that struck well with me. And those are also the reasons why Nabucco is such a challenging opera, especially when it comes to any singer that dares sings any of these roles. Now, let's get on to what I thought about the production, the singers, and the conducting. Now, with the production, it may not have the pomp and grandeur and the luxury of a Zeffirelli production, but it still holds up really well. They were able to use like a lot of religious icons, like the candles used, like the candle used in Passover. Then you had like Abigail's bedroom, which she basically sings her aria, which is a lavish bedroom. And then we see like the image of Baal and a lot of other interesting things that were basically used to the production's advantage. And I thought it was really solid all around. Sure, it may not have the grandiosity of a Zeffirelli production or even a Jean-Pierre Ponel production, but still, it works really well and it's able to convey the opera very well. The costumes are very nice to look at, very colorful, and very gorgeous. So overall, the production and the costumes were very solid all around the board. And the singing, what more can I say? It's top tier singing that I really enjoyed. In the title role of Nabucco, we have the dramatic baritone Richard Hahn. Now, like I said, in the role of Nabucco, you need a really great dramatic baritone who can be able to sing all of his notes really well and with such a powerful voice and a powerful stage presence. You need a great singing actor to do this role justice. In fact, one Nabucco that I really love that comes right on top of my head is Gian Giacomo Guelfi. I mean, he looks the part and he really sounds the part too. He's able to make the role very menacing. In Richard Hahn's case, yes, he was able to use that ferocity really well, and he has a very solid voice, though there were moments that I did notice a vibrato here and there. But that's just a minor flaw in his part. He was still a very convincing singing actor, and he was able to sing all of his notes really well, whether it's the low notes, the middle notes, or the high notes. He had great theatricality, and his voice was in great shape despite the vibrato that can be heard here and there. But that's just a minor problem. He was still very captivating, and he was still very enjoyable in this role. In fact, he is so up there with some of my favorite Nabuccos of all time, Gian Giacomo Guelfi, Matteo Manugera, Piero Cappuccilli, and well, who's another great man? Oh yeah, Cheryl Mins. I really love Cheryl Mins in that role. And I think Cornell McNeil also sang this role. So yeah, he's basically up there with the great Verdi baritones of all time. And from what I've checked in his repertoire, he also specialized in roles like the Flying Dutchman and Telramund from Lohengrin, and also Escamilla from Carmen. So, with that experience that he had in those roles, it really shows in his voice and his stage presence that he can really make Nabucco a very multidimensional character, aside from being all guts and glory, which he was able to convey really well. And especially in his nightmare scene, I thought was just really fabulous. So overall, Richard Hahn was definitely a great Nabucco, despite the vibrato. But still, he was a really great interpreter in this role. In the role of Zakaria, we have Peter Mikulash. Now, Peter Mikulash has been singing as a basso profondo or basso nobile for quite some time. I would say he's been singing since the late 80s or so. And he has a very great voice. He has a very resonant and very plush basso nobile voice, though I could tell that his age and wear was kind of showing in his voice. But still, he was able to control that, and out came a plush, round, rich, gravelly, cavernous instrument that was used very well and is still used very well to this very day. And he was able to make Zakaria a very noble, wise, and caring figure. And it was such a joy to see Mr. Mikulash in this role. And then we have the role of Ismaila, sung by Vaclav Sibera. What a voice he had. A very wonderfully round, spinto tenor voice that was such a joy for me to listen to. His high notes were wonderfully crystalline. And sure, his diction may not be perfect because, well, he's not a native Italian speaker, but that can be forgiven because the quality of his voice has a very round and very spinto-ish type of timbre that was used very well in such an ungratifying tenor role. I mean, poor Ismaila, he doesn't really get that much to sing, save for a duet or a trio that he has with Fenena and Abigail, and the scenes that he appears in with Nabucco, Zakaria, Abigail, Fenena, Anna, Abdallah, and many of the other characters in the opera, and even the chorus. Yeah, it is an ungratifying tenor role, but he was able to pull himself really well in this role, and it was just a very enjoyable experience. It was a very plush instrument that he used extremely well, and his musicality was so there, though I kind of wish that his diction could have been a little bit more improved. But what more can you expect? He's not really a native Italian speaker, so his diction could be a bit better as he keeps using his vowels with his oval mouth, that goes like that a lot of the times. But still, I could forgive that because it's a very well-rounded, very plush spinto tenor instrument that he used very well in probably one of the most thankless roles in all of Verdi's operas, next to Don Carlo. So yes, it was definitely a very enjoyable experience seeing him in this role. And he also sang really lyrically as well. And he was definitely one of the best male singers in this role so far. And then we have The High Priest of Baal, sung by Roman Votzel, who I saw a couple of nights ago as the water sprite or Vodnik from Rusalka. He was very great in his role, and it's not a really big role, but he was able to make a great use of this small role very well, and with such a plush and very round instrument that he was able to give life to. A very enjoyable performance from him. And we have Abdallah, sung by Aleš Vorjashek. Now, even though I don't really care about the timbre of his voice, I still think that it has a lot of potential, and he still manages to have a good sense of theatricality, and his musicality is really good, though I don't really care for his voice. But still, it's a very solid performance, in a minor role that I enjoy very much. And then we get to Abigail, sung by Anda-Louise Bogsha, who I saw last or 2 nights ago as Turandot. Wow, just wonderful. She didn't go over the top with this role in terms of her acting, and she was able to make Abigail a very proud, yet somehow, well, insecure woman, especially evidenced in her aria Anch'io dischiuso un giorno. What I forgot to mention is that during this aria, we see like a couple of dancers as everything goes black and the spotlight shines through Abigail, and then we see like a couple of dancers symbolizing a younger Nabucco and a younger Abigail getting along well with each other, fine and dandy. So going to Miss Bogsha's performance as Abigail, it was a very solid performance. It was very well done, and it was still a very captivating performance that I've seen. Sure, with the role of Abigail, I expect a lot more in terms of the vocalities in this role. When I think of my favorite Abigailes, I think of the following: Gena Dimitrova, Elena Suliotis, Elizabeth Connell, Maria Callas, Leila Gencher, Grace Bumbry, Gail Gilmore, and in most recent years, Marion Cornetti. I do expect her to have like an even rounder voice, though it's really round enough. Though I wish she were more secure in the high notes. I mean, her final high C in Salgoja kind of showed some insecurities, but it's a very small price to pay for such a very wonderful performance of this role. And it's very demanding. She has to sing a lot of high C's left and right, and while she may not have the electricity, so to say, that made Birgit Nilsson and Leonie Rizanek famous and very well known and well loved, she still was able to make up for it in terms of her theatricality, her musicality, and her flair for drama. And that's all I could ever expect from a performer of Abigail. I felt that Miss Bogsha really did very solidly and did very well in this role, and she was really great all throughout. Even though I did expect a lot more, I was still able to be satisfied in what I got, and it was still a very enjoyable performance that she did with Abigail. So, kudos to her. And then we have her younger sister Fenena, sung by Yana Sikorova, who I saw 2 nights ago as Yetsibaba from Rusalka. I was absolutely surprised. She was able to lighten her voice a little bit for the role of Fenena. I could really see how much of a versatile lyric dramatic mezzo this woman really is. She was able to lighten her voice really well for such an ungratifying character like Fenena. What makes Fenena a very thankless character for a lot of dramatic mezzos, or young dramatic mezzos, or even any Falcon sopranos, or even young dramatic sopranos, is the fact that she only gets one tiny aria, and that is O dischiuso il firmamento, before Nabucco comes rushing in. Yeah, and she mostly sings with the chorus, and she also has her trio with Ismaila and Abigail. But still, Miss Sikorova was able to sing very beautifully in this role, producing such golden tones and making this character very delicate yet strong. And that's what I definitely loved about Miss Sikorova's abilities as both a singer and an actress. She was able to make Fenena a not so passive character. It was definitely a joy watching her in this role, And I could really say that she really proved herself to be a very versatile performer. And I really enjoyed her in this role. It was beautifully sung, beautifully acted, and it was just, simply put, a joy to really see her in this role. I really hope to see a lot more of her in the future. And I really hope to see like more dramatic roles from Mistikorova because she really has a lot of potential. And so far, I'm really enjoying every single bit of her performance as Fenena. She really made the role her own, and she was able to give such a very touching portrayal as well. And then in the role of Anna, we have Hanna Yonashova, who was also one of the nymphs from Rusalka. Again, this is a very thankless role for a lyric soprano. She sang it really well, and even though she had a few lines, she still sang this role really well, all thanks to her clear sounding, crystalline voice. And the conducting done by Maestro Stur alongside the chorus and the orchestra, they all meshed together really well. And they really, well, made my experience with this opera a lot more worthwhile, especially when it came to the Hebrews chorus. Though I do wish that the caballettas would have been uncut. Therefore, it would have been very enjoyable. But still, you know how caballettas really are. They're very challenging, especially for a singer. Hence, that's why they have the tendency to be cut. Well, and only one part of the cabaletta is sung. So overall, this was definitely a very enjoyable experience that I've had with Verdi's Nabucco. And it's all thanks to a very wonderful cast of singers, with the following being the standouts: Richard Hahn, Vaclav Sibera, Peter Mikulash, Anda-Louise Bogja, Jana Sikorova, and Roman Votzel. Oh, and also Aleš Voracek and Hanna Jonasiova. Actually, all of them stood out really well to me. There was no one person that stood out more than the others. I thought everybody did fantastically. The chorus was just wonderful. The orchestra and the conducting, very solid, and the production was able to catch my attention from beginning to end. And, well, all I can say is, if you haven't seen Nabucco already, go ahead and check it out. If it's playing in your theater, or if you're currently here in Prague and it's going to be playing, then I highly suggest that you go and check this opera out. You will not be disappointed. Well, that's all for now. Well, this is actually my last opera review, and then tomorrow it's going to be my last ballet review, and that's going to be Ballettissimo, which is also going to be shown at the Statni Opera. And basically it's an anthology, well, performance with a lot of classical pieces thrown in the mix. So until then,